Absolutely. Here we go. Looking to pull off another gigantic upset for Storm Gaming. It is Gerald.
His opponent in the bottom left, the man who literally does not lose in DreamHack group stages, he is Serral.
And there's a reason that he just doesn't lose. He's Mr. Consistent. Such a strong player, just really... I mean, you could talk forever about what makes Serral such an outstanding player. His scouting, his mechanics, his late game unit control, his ability to pull the trigger. He's a tour de force.
It really is. And I think that you talk about all these other things, but it really does come down to his, especially for winning group stage games. It really does all come down to his ability to scout, to read, because while the format of DreamHack does allow for about a day of prep for every opponent, that's not quite as much. You may not be prepping quite as hard as you will be in a best of 5 and a best of 7. And especially as, say, you're Serral and you are one of 2 Zergs in a group of 6 Protoss, there's only so much you can do, right? You're playing against all these Protoss players. You maybe want to hold off on some things until you play Showtime in the later rounds, for example, or Max Packs. Well, you just got to make sure you know what your opponent is going to do. And that's why Serral having Lings in the base every 30 seconds kind of helps out a little bit.
It certainly does. So tenacious with that scouting. It really feels like with Serral, there's never more than, like a 2-minute period where he's not scouting. Like almost throughout the game, throughout its entirety, which is just wild. Like that is so extensive, and constantly have the information it's just so helpful. Now Gerald, he is a player that is quite phenomenal in his own right. He's definitely a player who struggles a little bit with mindset. He takes his losses very hard, and it makes sense. Like, the game is difficult. You invest a lot of yourself into this. Ooh, we're gonna see Gerald taking advantage of the high ground location. He's gonna be able to pick off a drone right there. Gerald is like the only player I see do this, and it's so nice to see because it's such an annoying nuisance.
Yeah, I don't actually think I've seen that use of an Adept before, which is kind of cool there from Gerald. And, when we talk about Gerald in this series, he's going to try to get a second worker. Looks like that will be unsuccessful, as he does not cancel the shade. Prefers actually getting the Adept out. Oh, no, sorry, he stayed in the main base here. This is actually starting to become very annoying for Serral, but as the Lings pop and with speed being done, it looks like this Adept, it's just dead. So you only get 1 worker, but you do deny mining. You do cause consternation and chaos. A second Adept shows up, but the drones will run, they will hide, and Gerald not quite getting the harassment that he's looking for. We are at the point where I could have seen Serral just keep that Spore alive because Oracles are on the way. It's 3:30. You're kind of okay with that, but no, he cancels it. Optimum efficiency from the finisher.
Yeah, he's gonna try and milk every single mineral that he can out of his units, but that does mean that this third base is a little bit exposed. Does lose a couple of drones, but will he get the Oracle? Oh my goodness, 7 HP. One more shot would have taken it down. And honestly, getting 2 drones for that amount of damage on the Oracle, I don't even know if that's worth it.
I don't think it is. We've seen Gerald really try to abuse that high ground cliff, but it seems like Serral is learning from that rather quickly. But Steadfast, as you so rightfully point out here, with Double Forge on the way, Gerald on one of the smaller maps in the pool, he's turned into a bit of a greedy boy.
A very greedy boy right here. We're going to see 1-1 upgrades. He's delaying his Twilight Council just a little bit, but of course he will throw that down right behind it. This is going to be almost certainly a hyper aggro hero style, but you got to be careful on your way towards that. Looks like he does pick off another couple of drones, and no Spore in the third base. Serral getting a little bit exposed right here. Normally his queen positioning is so perfect, but actually losing a couple of drones right there that follow up Oracle. Nice job from Gerald, but he lost one of his Oracles. Never mind, I didn't even realize. Okay, well, that makes it actually way less worth.
Yeah, I think he dove in with both Oracles, and maybe either the target fire of Serral or he just led with a low HP Oracle, and then, well, that does go down. But you talk about the hyper-aggressive hero style Steadfast. That is a single Forge setup, right? In this case, 1-1 is getting started before Blink gets started, and actually, I don't know that Blink is the first upgrade in this game. We do have the Twilight, of course, But as this goes on, we've started to see players. Okay, we'll be Blink. I was gonna spin some tale about this, a 1-1 charge timing, but never mind. Blink's on the way. Okay.
I mean, it is an option, but I've seen a couple of players tinker around with this. I've even seen Hero do this once or twice with the Forge. Maybe not the Forge is this fast. This is incredibly quick on the double upgrades, but I have seen it from, you know, from a couple of pro Protoss players, and it's mixed results in terms of success. But if you can get away with it, and if you get up to 2-2 on your Stalkers, on your Zealots, it is very scary, very difficult to deal with.
So how do you feel about this quick Templar Archives, though? Because when I'm used to seeing a Templar Archives this fast, it is for that really quick charge. It's a charge slot Archon timing that does very well against these +1 melee ideas that Zergs have been going for. You get 50 drones, you get 50 lings, something like that, and you dominate the map against the Stalkers. But with charge slot Archon, that absolutely goes by the wayside. For now, we don't see much out of it, and Serral, with the space that he has, because there has been no pressure by Gerald. Now, Oracle's kind of, but that's about it. He now has the Spire on the way, even before his Baneling Nest. And Mutas, they are fantastic against the style that Gerald's going for. Really, without Phoenix, it becomes so hard to bounce around the map and properly do something. 1-1 is just about done. Archons are now being made, and with the Blink finishing up as well, Gerald might have a timing here.
Yeah, he certainly might. Doesn't start up his +2 armor just right away. We will see some lings coming across the map. Ooh, they do run into an Archon, and that's... an Archon in a choke is not something you really want to fight. And with that little move out coming on in, Serral fires up 12 roaches. He's like, oh, an Archon in the front? Okay, I have to respect this. I have to be very careful about this. But it's really just a pressure coming in from Gerald. And this is going to succeed in the sense that it forces Serral to not build as many mutas as he might have wanted to.
Although, still 9 mutas are on the way, so it's still going to be a little bit problematic. Stalkers move forward, occupying that choke, and I very much expected to see Gerald start +2 armor pretty quickly. Just didn't have the gas for it when he started the attack, but he has forgotten about it in the chaos of this game. And now that means that he will not have that incredible 2-2 timing that you are talking about. But Storm finally now getting added. But this is Storm getting added, Steadfast, a solid minute and a half after the Templar Archives went down. And that, I feel like that was the goal of the Templar Archives in the first place, not for a single Archon on the pressure.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. It feels like, yes, it should have been a very quick Storm with this. Now, with no Observer, no Spotter units, the mutas are just now getting revealed as they get into this base. Gerald does have a cannon and a shield battery, but look at this. The snipe going to come in. Well, actually, no, he's not able to get that, but he does force the High Templar to morph into one of the Archons right there. Storm is going to be a little bit weaker here. We are seeing the mutas kind of distracting for the Ling Roach on the map. Gerald will get out of there, and he's able to prevent taking too much damage, but 10 probes does sting.
It does, but the Oracle's actually doing a great job at knocking down some of the roaches. Unfortunately, not targeting the Ravagers down, but okay, Storm done in 10 seconds, but there are 35 Banelings on the way. Serral sensing weakness, sensing opportunity, because he did deny some of those Storms. Only 2 High Templar on the map, and I think they only have about 1 Storm each, but at the very least for Gerald, there is a pretty significant wall that is going to take a little while to bust on through. Maybe drop Storms on the other side of it. Now, Gerald, he's expanding on the northwest side, so even if he loses this base, might not be the end of the world, as he does try to establish that 5th, but now the wall is down a little bit. Banelings look to roll on forward. Archon's not really at the front. The Storms, though, are going to be fantastic. Banelings, they come crushing on in, but Steadfast, they do not get the damage they want. The concave of Stalkers is still there. Now Banelings get a little bit better of connections, but the Stalkers, the low ones, they blink back, and this was just not what Serral wanted. And now we have some Ravagers. They get lifted, but Serral breaks his back on the wall of Gerald, and now Gerald has a wonderful opportunity to make a push happen.
Yeah, he does. The thing is, that was even without the +2 armor. Imagine +2 armor was started at the timing that it should have been. This was still a pretty great defense, as you said, for Gerald here, but it could have been even better. The single Phoenix is going to be able to clear out at least... Oh, Gerald, micro. Oh, okay. I mean, he's gonna lose it, but that's fine. He is focused on the attack on the bottom right, denies the 5th base, while, as you mentioned, he gets up to his own 5th base. This feels like a phenomenal opportunity for Gerald in this game.
It really does. Storm lands center mass. Banelings, they're not going to get connections day one. Stalker's a little bit pinned, and oh, the High Templar, they're all left alone. Gerald a little bit too, I don't know, antsy, a little bit too greedy on the map before his armor's done.
He didn't need to recall, though. I don't think he needed. I think he could have taken that fight.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't know why he just recalled right there. There was roaches with no upgrades versus 2-1, soon to be 2-2 stalkers. That was a very panicked and unnecessary recall. And that actually just threw the momentum, I feel like, right back into Serral's court.
Oh, massively. That was 5 Archons going down, 2 High Templar as well. So the power of this army, not really where it needs to be. And now Serral with the Contaminated as well. It does mean that actually it's kind of good for Gerald because it does time things out properly. It looks like armor and attack upgrades will be done at a similar time now, which, well, makes up for Gerald's mistake earlier, I guess, if we're going to really look for the silver lining that does not exist. But Gerald on his 5 bases right now, Lings are going to try to go through and they will cancel a gateway, but that's about it. As Gerald advances forward, he's got that fleet beacon on the way. We should see a second Stargate rather soon. And Steadfast, if you are able to get quick enough carriers, lurkers don't really matter all that much. That being said, Serral has his lurkers done. He has his upgrades on the way before the carriers are before the fleet beacon is done. And that means that now Gerald's going to have to hold on Stalker Storm, which is not the best way to have to hold this. It's kind of hard.
It is extremely difficult. He is getting a little bit... Ooh, he's playing very dangerously with these units. The lurkers are really well positioned. He's going to blink forward to try and get these, but there's still 2 lurkers that are burrowed. Oh, man. Gerald takes just a couple of shots, and they are pretty big. We do have the upgrade lead that is so nice for Gerald, but it's not going to be enough to really necessarily hold on. We do see a kind of engagements breaking out everywhere. Seismic Spines does now complete. These are +0 lurkers for the moment, but they are still going to be a terrifying problem for the Stalkers.
Look at what Gerald's doing here, though. The Stalkers, the Storm on the left side, they're not engaging, really, as now Stalkers fighting over the top. Are doing a good job, but instead, Stalkers is playing forward. There's one lurker here that needs to be dealt with. Gerald does not know about it, but the High Templar is still standing strong for the moment. They're not going down just yet. The Storm on the lurkers on the left side, but that hero lurker, right on top of the Stalkers, knocks everything down in a position that actually looked pretty nice from Gerald because the army of Serral was just not there. Instead, he loses so many Stalkers, so much HP, all the High Templar, and he still does not have the opportunity to break Serral down on the right side. That being said, supplies are starting to equalize a little bit more. Zealots run forward. Good revelation on all of the lurkers, and as Tempest hit the field, this is something that can get cleaned up, but the Tempest have to actually shoot at the lurkers, not at the detection in the high ground.
Very correct right there. It is worth noting there is absolutely no robotics facility on the field, which means the revelations are the only detection against these lurkers. Serral is still in a pretty committed position. 3-3 does now complete for Gerald. That gives him once again a massive upgrade lead. In this game, the Hydras don't have speed. I don't believe they have range either. No, they do not, which means they are not the handiest in a fight. These Tempests, they can actually maybe just clear up this whole army. Oh, the Chargelots gonna get in on top of the lurkers. Looks like there's just enough to keep them at bay. Both players are losing a lot of supply right now. It feels like if there was a robotics facility, if there was just detection to deal with the lurkers properly, Gerald might have cleaned this up and already run away with this game. But instead, it is Serral who is making it work on a shoestring budget.
I mean, Steadfast, Gerald has a massive bank here that he just was not able to spend. Looks like we have the one, the game is chaotic, so I'm going to build a single Storm host made at some point. I don't think that's going to get all that much done. But you talk about no robo, right? No observers. In a game state like this, when it is on Hydra Lurker, you actually want the Oracles over the observers because the Hydras, they just tend to snipe the observers right down. Meanwhile, Oracles provide consistent vision regardless of what's happening. Once the revelation is up, that's fine. Okay, but we have 5 Tempests on the map. That is one-shot capability for a lot of units in the Zerg arsenal. Carriers now on the way as Gerald trying to retake this 5th base. And the Zealots are actually kind of they're in a pretty good spot here as the Ling's looking for that surround. They are 2-2, but it's 3-3 Zealots, so that's really gonna shred them there, but Storm as well. So at the very least, this Ling run by dealt with. And Gerald, big news, he's equal on supply. He was far down, but as you rightfully pointed out, Serral was very committed to this style that he's going for. And as Gerald has been able to beat it back, albeit not incredibly impressively, but he was able to beat it back, this buys Gerald time. His army is better now than what Serral has.
Yeah, I think so as well. Once again, I feel like it comes down to the detection or lack thereof. We are going to see these lurkers. They've now got +2 weapons. They were on +0 for quite a while. Now they are actually very, well upgraded. But they are going to get trapped here. He doesn't drop the revelation before he recalls. What did he even just recall to? What did he... What?
Misclick. I think he maybe meant to shield battery overcharge. I'm not quite sure. The oracles, they run back now. The lurker's going down, but I think we just saw multiple... Oh, that doesn't show it. I think we just saw multiple Stargates go down to the corruptors on the other side of the map. So what does Gerald have in terms of production? No Stargates. Yeah, no Stargates. He has the fleet beacon alive, but he can't build anything with that fleet beacon. So 3 Stargates are now on the way, but I feel like Gerald might have a timing here. Right? He has this powerful army. We look at army value and it says, okay, well, Serral is better, but that is 9 lurkers. That is a lot of the gas of Serral's army, a lot of the minerals of Serral's army. That does not fight what Gerald has. So Gerald has this opportunity to deny some of the economy of Serral. That being said, now we're starting to see the problems with the lack of a robo. In a straight up fight, you want the oracles, but as it's just random lurker harass all over the place, you need those observers to make you happy. And Lings, they find their way in once again. They're not +3, not yet, but they do have adrenaline. That means they absolutely shred things. Zealots warp in, but they're a little bit slow, and that will force Gerald back, take him away from this time that he was trying to hit. And oh no, forces some storms that Gerald did really not want to spend.
No, he certainly did not. We are seeing the corruptors kind of sharking around here. Ooh, they will run into this army. There is detection here for Serral, though, and he's able to snipe off a carrier that was kind of on its own. And as he sees those carriers, he starts up a couple of Vipers. Makes sense, want to be able to shark around with this kind of mobile force. Oh, these corruptors are very exposed. Storms, where are the storms? Drop some storms.
Archon.
He's a little bit late to do so. There we go. Archon as well. These are +3 Stalkers and Archons. They are going to rip and tear these units apart. Oh, the lurkers are not enough to hold against this ground army. We will see the time warp coming on in. That's going to slow these corruptors substantially. I really feel like this is starting to go extremely well for Gerald.
Oh, Stark's moving forward, trying to get the Viper. They don't get it. Just barely stays alive. Super low, but there they go. They get it. Not a lot of spellcasters in this army right now. There are 5 infestors. That's it. Fungos land, but the lurkers, they don't move forward to deal with this. And the Tempest, they can fire from so damn far away. One Stalker moves forward, and it gets absolutely annihilated. But much has been made steadfast of the +2 air timing, +2 carrier timing. While we do not actually have a lot of carriers on the map, or any right now, +2 Tempests are a powerful thing. Gerald denied his right side base, but he denies Serral's left. So it's 5 bases to 5 bases here, and that will always favor the Protoss player, especially as Serral doesn't have a bank. Gerald's bank is not incredible. Sure, it's not another army's worth, but at least he can rebuild things. At least he can continue to advance his tech, and at least he does have some level of remax capability. So as 3 carriers hit the field, +3 attack on the way, +2 shields on the way. This is Gerald's timing.
Yeah, there's no Spore Forest. There's no, effective way to deal with heavy carrier transition. It's only 2 carriers for now, but as you said, it feels just incredibly difficult right now for Serral to establish himself defensively. He's got no static defenses on this right side. He does have lurkers well set up. He's got some infestors as well. But it feels like this army of Gerald is so hodgepodge that it's just going to be massively difficult to deal with. I love that he's burrowed this one swarm house. That's actually so annoying to deal with.
Yeah, I think I said that I didn't think this was going to do anything this game, but it absolutely has. It's killed a couple Stalkers. It's denied a 3rd base, or denied Gerald's 6th base for quite a while, but now Stalker's moving forward here. The lurkers are just out of position, so this is a dead base very, very quickly. Storms get dropped, but by the time the storms get dropped in earnest, good feedback on the leading infestors. One fungal looks like it's not even going to kill that High Templar, and it was out of energy anyways. Gerald gets another base. Serral locked down to 4. He does not have a bank. He does not have much income. He is relying now on all of these Broodlords and the 17 Corruptors he has, but with the Tempest on the field, with the carriers on the field, with how many storms there are, I don't know that this is the composition that Serral's looking for.
No, I don't think so. It's tough to even figure out what the correct composition is because of how Gerald is playing this. He's playing very fluidly. His army composition, it doesn't like it's just once again, it kind of feels like a hodgepodge. He's got a few Stalkers, few Tempests, few carriers, bunch of High Templar, the mothership. He's kind of, it's difficult for Serral to figure out what he wants to do, while Gerald is just getting further and further ahead in terms of economy and bank.
Well, now he's going to move in because he has +3 done, +2 shields done. This is when he starts to become more and more powerful. But behind the wall of spores, it's so hard to break Serral. Looks like Gerald finally throwing some of his units away. Stalkers on the bottom side, trying to make something happen. Oh, they get a couple Broodlords. That is massive. Yeah, the Fungals are going to knock them down, but it's just not chained in time. So Broodlord 1, Broodlord 2. Is this all the Broodlords in Serral's army? I think it might have been. Yeah, he gets 7 Broodlords.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, what a move. 13 Stalkers for 7 Broodlords, a Corruptor, and now we're going to see the move in onto the left side. This is going to kill a base that is mined out, but this is just more influence for Serral being denied. He just is losing control of his side of the map, and once again, there is still no robotics facility. Almost 22 minutes in the game, Gerald says, I've never needed it. Why would I build it? Immortals, they don't even shoot up.
I mean, they don't. Immortals against Broodlord is probably the worst unit that you can have. But what a way to throw 13 Stalkers away. Gerald didn't want him anymore. Actually, as I say that, he's warping more Stalkers, so maybe he did. But getting those Broodlords is so fantastic. So now Zealots run for it. And these are, they're actually only +2 Lurkers right now. Serral does not have the +3, so a couple Lurkers will go down. Stalker blinks forward. Doesn't quite get, in fact, kind of loses his lunch. But Lurkers are not what Serral wants. I don't think they're really what he wants anymore, as the Sky Army is so powerful. There's a recall there. Mothership Core comes back home, and it feels like we haven't even seen the Mothership be used that tremendously well, although I don't know how I feel about leaving this army alone like this Steadfast. This is a pretty vulnerable setup, but Serral, he doesn't have his army quite close enough to pounce on it.
No, he does not, and it feels almost like, I don't know how else to say it, but it feels almost like Gerald is doing, I don't want to say random moves because they are calculated, but it feels like moves that are so unconventional that it's difficult for Serral to counter them.
If I don't know what I'm doing, you can't know what I'm doing either.
Exactly. It's that concept. Ooh, these fungal growths could be huge, but we could also see some massive feedbacks. 2 feedbacks do land. Storms, a little bit optimistic, but the fungal growths do not land on the High Templar, and it is, unless Serral can get a massive cleanup on this army for almost free, this is looking more and more like it is Gerald's game in the bag.
I remember the games that Gerald won against Showtime when he did put himself in position to hit top 2 in this group. They were games in the late game. Gerald really flexing here, but those Fungals on the High Templar actually causing so many problems. Storms now on the Broodlords as well. And as the High Templar are all going to go down, this is the time for the Corruptors, but it's not enough. The one last Storm. Gerald, he takes game 1.
Hands Serral his first map loss of the tournament. Gerald, he is on fire right now.
I thought that the Fungals on the High Templar were going to be enough to force Gerald out of that position, force a recall, reset that game. But there was one High Templar that did not go down. It was in the prop position. Gerald pulled it back behind his army, north side, where the Corruptors wanted to go. And those Corruptors were so damn low that one Storm knocked them all down, knocked them close enough that the carriers killed it off. And Serral had no money. His economy was shut down that entire game. Gerald has been vocal about not feeling great about StarCraft, about missing some secret sauce. He's been tweeting about it. He's been active about it. But these last 3 days, these last 4 days, they have been the Gerald that gave us so much promise back when he was dueling with the laser for the title of best player from Poland. And I don't know what it is, Steadfast. I don't know what switch has been flipped, but I like this new Gerald.
It is a Gerald with swagger. He comes in, I mean, even literally taking one map versus Serral in the group stage puts you in elite company. It's actually just silly. So the fact that he's able to now just find himself maybe in a position to actually pull the comeback or actually pull the upset is just amazing to me.
Now, unfortunately, this match doesn't matter as much as we would like it to be because Showtime is 2-0 King Cobra with brutal efficiency. And now, as he's sitting at +7 in map score, despite the fact that Gerald holds the head-to-head, this is not attainable for Gerald. Most Gerald can go is to +5. So I want to see Serral do it, or I want to see Gerald do it because that would be hype as hell. but he no longer can hit top 2, despite, again, holding the head-to-head over, theoretically, the top 2 players in the group.
Yeah, which would be incredible if Gerald actually beat Showtime and Serral.
And got
then
third
somehow
place.
didn't get top 2 in the group. Like, that would feel like the most poetic injustice you've ever heard of. It just
I think
but he is still fighting for taking 3rd place versus 4th in the group.
This is true. Although, so DNS is up 1 on Shadone right now.
Yes.
So if Gerald loses as taking 1 map, the worst he can do is a +2 map score. Best DNS can do is a +2 map score, which means we would go to head-to-head. And I believe DNS has that, right?
I think so.
It's hard to tell.
Shadowne has the head-to-head.
No, Gerald has the
Gerald has the head-to-head versus
Okay.
DNS. Yeah.
So
did he just secure?
I believe by winning this game, he secured himself 3rd place.
All right. Not bad.
There
Not
we go.
bad. So it's still worth something. Still worth a lot, in fact.
I mean, bragging rights, they're worth a lot anyways. But Data C is going to be map 2. It's a bigger map, a map that is a little bit harder to mine out. Let's see if that goes in Serral's favor. We're right into it.
All right, and here we go. Spawning down on the bottom left for Storm Gaming with a ridiculous win in game number 1. It is Gerald.
In the upper right, the man who does not lose until he's playing Gerald in a late game scenario, I guess. He is for NC Sports, Serral.
I don't even know what to make of this. Like, this is just ridiculous. This isn't supposed to happen. The script writers, what are they doing this season? It's all over the place.
I mean, the last season of the year, they know what they got to do. They want to make it as fun as possible for all of us, so they just make things all complicated.
All complicated. As Avril Lavigne might say, why you gotta go and make things so complicated?
Glad you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Yeah, it felt like Serral was, I don't know, that felt like he was a little bit all over the place trying to answer what Gerald was doing. You mentioned that one big attack on the 4th base where Serral kind of battered his way against the wall and ate some pretty big storms. Felt like from that point on, Gerald was kind of in a solid and comfortable position for the whole game from that point forward.
Yeah, I mean, he did definitely make some decisions that I don't think were the correct ones. Recalling those stalkers when he probably could have won the fight, for example.
Yes.
And that did give Serral room back into the game. But you commit 35 Banes, a bunch of Roaches, a bunch of Ravagers that all go down in that scenario, and you get literally nothing. You just trade army for army, and even then not efficiently. In a game where Gerald has been that greedy, it is going to work out tremendously well. But you point this out, Gerald, super greedy in map 1. Double Forge, quick 4th base. He is pulling that lever in very much the other direction in this game too. That's a quick Twilight. And while this is not the best Glaives map, Steadfast, after game 1 went as it did, I would not hate seeing it.
Yeah, neither would I. It's, for me, I'm not a big fan of Glaives on these big maps because it feels like you just have so much. Like, let's say your Warp Prism gets pushed away and you miss a warp in, and you have to warp in at home with your units. That just kind of sucks. But we're going to be seeing Gerald going back to his basics, which is to say the DT drop. He is one of the most prolific and stubborn players when it comes to saying, I'm going to drop DTs, and I'm going to drop DTs, and I'm going to drop DTs. He was doing this for like 2 years straight. When everyone else was like, okay, maybe this isn't the way forward, he was like, yes, it is.
I was Steadfast. I was going to say, everyone was doing this for every game for 2 years straight, but then we moved away from it, and I guess, yes, Gerald did stand that a little bit longer, but that also means that if there's anyone that is going to be able to hit this crisply as possible and know all the breakdowns, all the branching trees out of it, well, his name would be Gerald. So Gateway is just about done. Dark Shrine 2/3 of the way, 3/4 of the way complete. And as Gerald gets ready to move out on the map, Serral, he's building a couple lings, got a Roach Warren on the way. No spores just yet, though.
No spores just yet. If I could be critical, though, of Gerald when he goes for this kind of thing. Oh, there we go. There's the spores. They will be just about perfectly timed. It's that he doesn't commit sometimes with the DTs when he has the opportunity to get something done. In this particular case, I think the spore is going to be just about, frame perfect timed. But at the very least, make sure. You have to get in there and you have to make sure that your opponent's spores are, perfectly timed. In this case, he didn't actually see if there was a spore crawler or not. We are going to see the drop into the main base, but this shouldn't be able to get much of anything done. Oh, Gerald! Oh, almost losing one of those DTs right there. Getting quite low. Does take no hull damage on the War Prism, but it's a little bit... It's going to have to regenerate shields a little bit before it can go back in here.
Yeah, but that was just value. Gerald trying to maximize everything he possibly can out of this drop. So yeah, it's only a couple lings, but you take that one. Absolutely. And it just shuts down maybe the defense. So it makes life... Serral has to commit maybe a little bit more to his defense, but he's already on 7 Queen of Steadfast. Actually, yeah, he's got an 8th one on the way, and that really just kind of invalidates this. And he's trying to hold this even without roaches, but Archon's getting some pretty decent shots here. They are on high energy queens, but not enough. And oh, that War Prism gets very low indeed. So the time of Archon drops, it's done. It's done. Don't do it again, Gerald. That is a way to lose your War Prism, but with War Prism speed on the way, Disruptor drops here. I kind of feel like we need a second War Prism.
Oh, maybe could go for that. I will say, it feels like when your opponent does this DT drop and gets so little damage done, feels like you can just do exactly what Serral is doing right here, which is going to be a +1 missile roach timing. And he's just going to try and smash right through Gerald, I believe. This is going to be difficult to deal with. He does throw down a Baneling Nest. Oh, and a Spire as well. Okay, so never mind. He is going to definitely drone out of this. But he still can try and hit at least a bit of a timing. We'll see if he decides to go for that. Doesn't look like it, but this is in a phenomenal position for Serral in game number 2.
It really is, although you talk about that roach timing, which will not happen as one gateway gets canceled. Considering the fact that Gerald is going Disruptors behind this, that would actually technically be a pretty good position for Gerald. You drop Disruptors on the map, you kill Ravagers, they don't split well enough, they're bulky boys. And then that is how you start to whittle the army down from Serral enough to make sure you can hold it on the other side. But Spire's a different story. And we talked about this last time. While Blink is nice against Mutas, while Archons are nice against Mutas, they're not quite mobile enough to deal with them as well as they would like. It looks like Lings, they found their way into the 3rd base here, but Shield Battery keeps things alive. It looks like, I guess, a couple rallying probes were what went down. And Disruptor drops. They get 8 workers on the other side. Serral a little bit slow on his split, so hey, it's a start.
Yeah, it's a very decent start at that, and Serral didn't go for, like 75, 80 drones right out the gate. That means that losing 8 drones, it does hamper Serral's economy a fair bit. Now, he's got to be extremely careful, because if Gerald doesn't find this Spire, or doesn't figure out about these Mutas, he could just lose pretty much his whole army in one go. He's got +1 weapons nearly done, but Serral is pretty well prepared to potentially deal a mortal blow to this army. I mean, these Disruptor shots are going to need to be huge.
Yeah, okay, shot 1 goes woefully wide, but we got to remember here, that's about 10 army supply-ish of Mutas that really do not impact things all that much. But now Gerald feels the need to back up. Too many roaches here, does not get the 4th base that he wants to, but he is off creep, which does mean this army fights a whole hell of a lot better, and really the Biles do not land. But now Gerald, he's got to be a little bit... He doesn't know exactly where he wants to be. Warps and Stalkers back home as the Mutas do arrive, and not too many probes have died just yet. But Steadfast, we don't have a lot of stacked defense in the mineral lines. Unlike last game, where Gerald had a cannon, he had a shield battery in most mineral lines, this time he has to commit much further to the defense because of that lack of stacked defense. On the flip side, Disruptor shots go off here. Queen's now starting to fall. The 4th base of Serral now dead. But Gerald, I feel like this is his time to just really cut tail and run. 1 Archon will fall. Stalkers blink forward to keep the Disruptor alive, but there are so many links here that does not feel like what Gerald wanted. This army is going to get absolutely wiped. Gerald trying to buy the time for Disruptors to pop out to have their cooldowns done, but they're already going low. Stalkers again serving as a force field. Shot goes out, and it gets so many roaches, but still, I don't think that's enough to keep Gerald alive here, but it maybe equalizes things enough. Even still, 12 probes go down to the Mutas on the other side. But this game is going pretty nuts here, Steadfast.
Yeah, it is. I thought for sure that shot was going to be denied. Serral basically all into his army to try and make sure he could take that down. He wasn't able to get it. Oh, these Zealots, they realize they don't have charge, and they are going to be pretty much useless against these Roaches, but they will buy a little bit of time for more Disruptors to show on up. That was a massive Disruptor shot, and I think that was basically a game-saving Disruptor shot for Gerald. It allowed him to save a few of his Stalkers, get out of there with those. Meanwhile, in the main base, Serral lost his main hatch. He's only on 2 hatches right now.
And look what he's doing. He's rebuilding Mutas here. He's rebuilding Mutas against a terrifying ground army. Mutas find the way home, and they're just dead. So that's a really messed up investment there. Disruptor shot goes forward, but as you're on creep, at least Serral can dodge that one. The Mutas behind Gerald's natural doing something. Disruptor shot in the front line, but still gets plentiful Roaches here. Gerald blinks forward. Gerald takes the 2-0.